But if you know that abroad is too hard for you, come back, let somebody else go now. Yeah, 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 yeah. If I come back, you get visa to take go. Do you have visa? I'm very sure that a lot of us have heard these statements from different people. Maybe not directly, maybe online, maybe from friends, maybe from family. And this is exactly what I'm going to be discussing today. So, guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Attribution, and I remain your favorite host, Chukwuedo. Attribution is a channel where we discuss different topics, eclectic topics that actually affect Africans in diaspora and also Africans back home. So, straight to the topic. Um, I'm going to talk specifically from a purely Nigerian perspective because this is the place I know. If you go online, you sometimes you find diasporans who, for reasons best known to them, they actually get to complain. You know, they feel frustrated, they feel down. If you're a diasporan, obviously you understand what I mean because we all have those moments sometimes where you just feel like, hey, I'm not making too much of a headway, my business is not going right, I'm tired of this 9 to 5, etc., etc. And you just want to vent, and then you go online to rant a little bit. Abroad is not easy. I have all these bills to pay. I need to pay my school fees. I've not been promoted at work. I see a lot of people get promoted before me and stuff like that. My manager is frustrating me. We know these problems that come with living abroad as a black person especially in the diaspora. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting because it seems that most folks back home are becoming more and more insensitive to the plights of many Africans who are in the diaspora. And sometimes these insensitivity can actually come from, very, very close. I'm talking friends, I'm talking families, I'm talking, loved ones. And I'm here to just highlight some reasons as to why people can actually feel frustrated, especially if you're in the diaspora. So the first instance is this. For those of us who are diasporans who were doing way way better back home, whether you're from Nigeria, you're from Ghana, South Africa, wherever it is, Zambia, Tanzania, you know that hey, I'm thinking to relocate. I'm leaving my home country, maybe with your family, maybe alone, and then you're going to the diaspora. Everything is sorted out, but you were actually doing very very well back home because a lot of people were in, let's say, the banking sector, they were in tech, they were into like trading, buying and selling, into just name it, entertainment, or um, whatever sector you were actually in while you were in your home country, you were doing really really well. However, because of reasons best known to them. I've done an episode where I spoke about don't throw everything you have in Africa just because you want to relocate. So you can watch that. Perhaps I'm going to include that video up here, and if you wish, you can watch that. So back to the topic. So of course you're doing really well, but there is just that thing, maybe due to security reasons, due to of course reasons of war, due to reasons of lack of fulfillment. You might be having the money, but perhaps the job is not, or the area is not something that's giving you a lot of satisfaction. You want to relocate. That's absolutely fine. Now, years down the line, for many reasons, you're not getting as much money as we're getting in Africa. You don't have that much respect, you don't have that much influence, and then you are frustrated. This is absolutely normal. This is absolutely human. You get to have these times of frustration. And then, of course, you go online, you want to rant a little bit, just so that you can get some things off your chest. And then you go there maybe on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever it is. And you're like, hey, abroad is not easy. I have all these bills to pay, etc., etc., etc. Guys, if you're back home in your country and you're doing very well for yourself, I wouldn't really recommend abroad based on my experience. This is just somebody sharing his experience. And guess what? You have those keypad warriors who don't do any other thing, who just, they basically spend their whole lives online looking for people to drag. They quickly run to your post, and then you start seeing things like, ah, you that you're even lucky. You know, they thank God, say you even they abroad safe. I make you come Nigeria, make Nigeria show you shege. You know, comments like this. And if you know that abroad is too hard for you, come back now so that somebody else can go. As if the person who wants to go already has a visa in their passport. This is the first instance. Now, I have another bullet point here, second instance. Now imagine a situation where you're in your home country, you've never done a 9 to 5, you've always done, like maybe business or trading, buying and selling, or you render services. Now imagine you're there, you're doing your business, you're thriving, you have a nice house, you have a nice car, perhaps you even have like, domestic staff who basically just make your life very, very easy. And then for some reason, you relocate, and years down the line, you realize that there is now a huge shift from the quality of life that you had back in Africa. Like there's this huge shift. I'm talking about, let's say, if you were if you were to put your quality of life on a scale of 1 to 100, what you had in Africa. Because again, remember, I know a lot of people would jump to say, "Oh, Africa is not safe," and all that. Frankly speaking, Africa is not safe. I understand that, but hey, bro, it depends on the economic class that you actually belong to. So largely, you can live an isolated lifestyle. I know that because I know areas in Lagos, for example, where these people, almost 24 hours electricity, top-notch security, etc., etc. These people are living the best lives that they can ever have, back home in Africa, back in Nigeria. I'm sure there are places like that in Ghana, in South Africa, so even the whole excuse of Africa not being safe, frankly speaking, I don't think it's an absolute truth. But hey, back to the topic. So the point is, you were doing way, way back home you were doing better back in Africa, you had a better quality of life, and then all of a sudden you decide to travel, relocate to the diaspora, maybe to study or maybe to work, and then it's 5, 6, 7 years down the line, and you realize that, hey, I think Africa was actually better. My quality of life, has actually dropped, especially for people who, as I told you, they never had to do a 9 to 5. So here they are in the diaspora doing 9 to 5 for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, not necessarily because they like it, but because this is like the only thing available at the moment. Because considering the bureaucracy of having your own business, and of course having the right capital, and again, having to basically navigate the system, it could be a very, very daunting task, especially if you're not somebody, let's say, who's so much knowledgeable on how the whole things function in the in the country where you are actually living at the moment. So this can be a cause for frustration. This can cause some level of frustration. Like back home, you could go to your business 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, because you were basically a boss of your own. Now here you are, two different lives, two different realities. You're here doing the 9 to 5, and not everybody is wired to do the 9 to 5, frankly speaking. So a lot of people get easily frustrated, depressed, demotivated from doing 9 to 5, because they can't just put up with the reality of having to wake up every day at a particular time, in the summer, in the winter, in the snow, in the rain, and you have to go and jump the bus, you have to catch the train, catch the metro, depending on how far or how close you actually live. But some people cannot just deal with that reality, because in Africa, for example, if you have your own business, then of course you could say, hey, today I'm not feeling very good, and you stay home, you don't open your store. Or perhaps if you have a staff, you can tell them, hey, I'm not coming today to the to the shop or to the store. You can go there, open the store, and then of course stay there for the whole day. You have this luxury. Now you're in a different reality, and then here you are, going through that time, and you just want to vent. And then you go online to say, hey man, I was a business owner in Africa, and I was doing really well. I had this, I had that, and 5 years, 7 years here in the UK or in the US, I feel like I made the wrong choice, things like that. Hey guys, I don't really advise for you to throw your businesses away in Africa before just because you want to relocate. And then you get those comments, they rush to your posts with the speed of light. Because sometimes these people who do these things, if they could take the same energy, the same speed, the same consistency they use in giving, in quotes, what they call savage replies or savage comments. If they put that into their lives, frankly speaking, I'm sure that most of them would be in better places and not necessarily sleep every day on the internet only to respond to genuine diasporans who are, for many reasons, frustrated because of the realities. Because again, remember, the difficulties you have in Africa and the difficulties you have in the diaspora as a diasporan are somewhat different. Back in Africa, hey, there is no power, no electricity, bad road, stuff like that. Wages are low, there are no jobs and things like that. Your frustration is totally valid because if I'm not in Africa, I do not know what their reality is. For example, most kids, who were born in the diaspora in Europe or in the Americas, they have no idea what it is to say, oh, there is no electricity, there is no power, or there is no internet. Like it's crazy, it's ridiculous for them because these things are things that they have taken for granted. Because they look at it of like how the hell don't you have internet? Like, bro, these guys must be living in some in some crazy ass jungle. But this is not the reality. It's just because of the difference in reality. That's why it's easy for them to invalidate, the frustration that an African child is going through. So this is exactly the same thing that some of these Africans do to the Africans in diaspora. Everybody goes through that moment of, boy, I'm not quite sure if I made the right decision. But hey, I'm here now. I have to keep going. I have to keep pushing. The least you can do is to at least, encourage us as Africans in diaspora. Do encourage us because, of course, most of the times, the reason why we are doing that 9 to 5, which takes me to my next point, is that most of us here cannot quit. We just cannot because we do not live in a system that gives us that liberty to actually quit. Because, hey, it's interesting to actually know that a lot of Africans in diaspora do shitty jobs that they would naturally not do. Take on extra hours, take on extra jobs, 2, 3 jobs sometimes. And of course, a lot of these people spend their whole lives doing 9 to 5s on jobs that, they actually go every morning with a lot of frustration and a lot of regrets. But guess what? These people cannot quit. Why? They have bills to pay. If you have a mortgage, you have to pay your mortgage, you cannot miss. If you don't have a mortgage, you have to pay your rent. You have to pay your light bill. If you have a car, you pay the car finance. Whatever. You pay the insurance. You pay your medical. Of course, if you're like in the US, you pay your phone bill. You pay your internet bill. You pay water. You pay gas. It's just crazy. So a lot of these people cannot just wake up one day and say, oh, damn this whole thing, I quit. But guess what? Are you aware that most of our folks back home, experiences, that I've actually heard and seen. You tell your friend, you tell your brother, you tell your sister, hey, you've not been doing anything for a while. Can you actually, try to, take up a job and all that? They may take up the job, and after 1, 2 months, they tell you, oh, bro, look, I quit that job. It was really stressful. The pay was not worth it, etc., etc., and then they quit. But guess what? I'm going to break it to you. So you understand that they are able to quit because they know that they have a backup somewhere. And who's the backup? You in the diaspora. This is a very, very bitter pill to actually swallow. That most of the times, you in the diaspora, you are slaving, away in the diaspora 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in a job that, you get a lot of disrespect. Maybe sometimes people can be racist towards you. And guess what? You cannot just quit because away from the fact that you have your personal bills to actually pay, you need to support those you actually leave back home. So the point is, here you are, paying the bills for where you actually stay in diaspora. And then you also have to worry about, hey, I'm going to send this €100, I have to send this $200, back home, to support family, to support friends. Meanwhile, most of these folks back home, they just, 1 month, 2 months, they're like, nah, man, damn this shit. I'm not going to continue. I cannot do this job. It's too stressful. I wake up too early in the morning. It's too far and all those things. But it's easy to actually do this. And do you know why? Because it's possible that, hey, they have like a free house that they actually live. And remember, for Nigerians, for example, our rental is basically annually. It's not monthly like in the like in the diaspora where you have to pay like every month. So it means that if you pay for a whole year, you could basically chill, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months without working until you get something. And from what I know, most diasporans actually support in paying the rents of these people back in Africa. So what it means is that here you are catering to your bills, especially let's say you have a family, you have kids, you have to pay all those bills. And then, hey, you need to sort out the rent, in Africa as well. Meanwhile, the people who are actually staying, in this place that you are, in quotes, paying for, they are comfortable doing nothing. They are comfortable doing nothing. And then guess what? These people would be the first set of people who would see another diasporan online, venting their frustration. Not necessarily you, because you are their benefactor, so they wouldn't want to tell you that. So even when you express frustration, oh, they'll be so nice and so kind to you because of the benefits they're getting. But hey, if you follow their social media, don't be surprised if they are the first, to run to somebody else's post and then tell you, oh, look, why are you complaining? You're in the diaspora, for God's sake. If I were you, I would have been a millionaire by now. As if once you land at the airports of the country you're actually going to, you get like a blank check to say, hey, you can write any amount that you actually want to. So this is crazy that most of us in the diaspora, we cannot just wake up and quit our jobs because we are supporting people back home. But guess what? Those back home can easily and comfortably just wake up and say, damn it, I'm going to quit my job. After all, I have my brother in the diaspora. I have my sister in the diaspora. I have my aunt in the diaspora. You know, oh, I can just, message one or two or three of them, get $100 here, $50 here, $100 here, and I should be good. So it's very, very crazy. It's very, very insensitive. It's very, very ridiculous when diasporans who are legitimately trying to, earn a living, who for many reasons they are pushing, they're grinding every day. They are not, they cannot quit. Because of course, because of the very vicious, conditions of living in Europe and in Americas, where everything is basically taxed. You have to pay for this, you have to pay for that, you have to pay for this. You when you're working, you pay tax on your salaries. Guess what? When you actually go to buy things, from the store, there is a VAT on it. So this is really crazy. You basically pay tax on every damn thing. So we are dealing with a lot as people in the diaspora already, and we would naturally believe that those in Africa would be at least considerate of us sometimes when we come online to vent. But hey, I've seen a lot of people being bullied, being gagged, just because they went online to vent a little bit. So you can imagine when you're doing your best, you're supporting people back home, but the moment you just say, oh man, I feel down, I feel tired, this job and stuff like that is actually stressing me out, and then they tell you, oh, you are very lucky because you're in the diaspora. If you know that abroad is too difficult for you, come back home, you know, come back home and let somebody else go, as if that is how it works. They ain't got no passport, they ain't got no visa, but very, very sharp mouths, they are very, very quick, to just put you in check to say, oh, you're very, very lucky now. There's jobs. Meanwhile, this is the same person who has refused to work in Africa. But he or she is telling you, oh, once I get to abroad, I will start working. you know, as if these kind of traits or attributes are things that you actually build overnight. Because look, if you're not resilient in Africa, there is a very, very slim possibility you're going to be resilient here. So I just thought it necessary, to encourage those in the diaspora that hey, we go through this and it's absolutely okay, it's absolutely fine, even in the face of backlash from unreasonable people back home. It is okay for you to go online and vent once in a while. And yes, if anybody tells you next time that hey, if you know that abroad is difficult, too difficult for you, come back home and let somebody else go. You ask the person to provide their visa with a passport. Okay, guys, that's me done, and I'll catch you on the very next one. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment, as this gives us traction, and of course, YouTube recommends our videos to other people. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the very next one. Cheers.